Good morning and welcome back to another edition of LCTV News. I'm Dani Vittori, and this week, new hires were made, beach plans were discussed, and more. On the Lynn Lowdown, we met with Pastor Gina and Reverend Paul to discuss upcoming events at the Lynn First Church of the Nazarene. Here is the news for Friday, July 22nd, 2022. Last Friday, the Senate passed a $10 billion transportation infrastructure bill. Part of this would be used to restore Lynn's ferry program, which has not been active since 2017. $28 million would go to an intercoastal ferry pilot, which would connect terminals in Salem, Lynn, Gloucester, Winthrop, Quincy, and Boston. This could provide some relief for commuters affected by the closure of the Lynn MBTA station on July 25th. The summer tunnel, which connects the North Shore to Boston, will also be closed from May to September of 2023. Plans are still in the early stages, but according to Senator Brendan Creighton, the hope is to have the program running by April or May of next year. There is the wish to create a system similar to the Hingham Hull ferry shuttle, which is a staple for the South Shore. Early Thursday morning, the Hells Angels clubhouse in Lynn was raided by the FBI and local law enforcement. Beginning around 4:30 a.m., armored SWAT vehicles were on the scene. According to the FBI, they had a search warrant and ordered anyone inside to exit the building. When no one came out, they proceeded to break in the door and begin, quote, crisis negotiation, end quote, with the help of a remote-controlled bot. SWAT entered the building with riot shields, and at least one person was arrested around 7 a.m. This is seen as a coordinated international effort by the FBI, as Hells Angels clubhouses in Danvers, Westport, Rhode Island, and Toronto were also raided within 24 hours. The Massachusetts Biotechnical Council has given Lynn its highest level of readiness to host biotech companies. This comes just 3 months after Lynn adopted an ordinance to make it more desirable for those types of companies. Lynn now joins a group of only 37 cities and towns nationwide to earn this distinction. It is based on zoning practices and infrastructure, which make it easier to build or renovate biotech facilities. The Lynn Biosafety Committee was created in April. The city will also host a developer tour in the fall for the Massachusetts Science Center as another opportunity to showcase potential properties. They oversee permits, review working training, as well as several other responsibilities. To learn more and read the full article, go to our website, lyntv.org. Kings Beach has faced the problem of contamination for years from 2 pipes which discharge ground and stormwater into the ocean, especially after heavy rain. Now state agencies, Lynn and Swampscott officials, as well as organizations Save the Bay and Friends of Lynn and the Hot Beaches are coming together to try and find a solution. According to Mayor Nicholson, quote, we are taking a collaborative approach to address a regional problem. There are no easy answers, but all the key stakeholders have come together to work on what we hope will be a long-term solution, end quote. The Lynn Water and Sewer Commission also approved $92,000 to work with the firm Environmental Partners last November, allocating an additional $236,000 based on initial testing. To read the full article, go to our website, lyntv.org. Pathways is an organization focused on adult education and training. They help adults overcome obstacles to have both personal and career success. They've also been searching for a new executive director. Dr. Dwight Doc Thomas, Ph.D., was selected and has agreed to take the position. Dr. Thomas is a scholar, practitioner, and leader with more than 30 years of experience. His previous positions include a professor of education and business, senior executive in higher education and adult education, and advisor and consultant for major international, national, state, nonprofits, and community-based organizations. Congratulations to Dr. Thomas. On Friday, members of the Massachusetts Senior Action Council, as well as veterans, drove from their usual protest spot in front of the Lynn VA to Seth Moulton's office in Salem. They were delivering a list of signatures they had collected, opposing the closure of the VA clinic. The Director of Veteran Affairs spoke as well. Here is more from the event.
What we've done is they've come here from Lynn, from the clinic, in a caravan to explain to Congressman Moulton, or let him know that, how important the VA clinic in Lynn really is. And he's been involved in all this, and they know, but they wanted to make sure they said it in person, brought the signatures they've received to, really push, because we're really looking for a long-term commitment from the VA for Lynn. Frankly, we've lost a lot of faith in some of the leadership and how they've communicated with us. So we aren't just taking their word for it that the lease is being worked on. We want to make sure that there's a long-term commitment to the Lynn VA clinic. There are 2,000 veterans who use that clinic, and the idea that they were going to close it with no community involvement, with no real plan on how to do it, it really is a shame. So we're glad we're moving in a better direction, that they're looking at extending the lease. This is the beginning of another phase where we're going to start bird dogging it, making sure that they fully staff that clinic, make sure that they don't, because right now currently they take one of our doctors every week, one of our psychiatrists, and send him up to the clinic up in Gloucester. We're going to make sure that stops, because our veterans, the ones who serve this country, really deserve a place to go where they know that it's fully staffed. And then we're going to try to get some better services down there and hope to expand the clinic in Lynn, not just get kind of a piecemeal lease every few years. We want to have a really long-term commitment to it. It's a critical lifeline for so many veterans in the city of Lynn.
The Sustainability and Climate Innovation Lab, or SCiLL, visited Marshall Middle School. SCiLL is an escape room project which gives participants 20 minutes to complete problems which teach them about lowering their carbon footprint. They were part of a Leap for Education and Dream More at the middle school. Here's part of the event.
Local sustainability education nonprofit Change is Simple visited Marshall Middle School this week with their new mobile sustainability and climate innovation learning lab, nicknamed the SCiLL Lab.
Change is Simple is a sustainability and climate education nonprofit. We're based in Beverly, and we work with public schools throughout the North Shore or greater Boston area. Our curriculum is really exciting and hands-on for kids, and we're doing this with students from grades K through 8. Our lab is filled with exciting learning tools for kids, and the goal of it is to expose students to the exciting field of sustainability and climate.
Students at Marshall from the free summer programs Leap for Education and Dream More boarded this interactive escape room-style van where they completed challenges related to climate change and sustainability.
This is your first clue. And this just tells you a little bit about carbon, but this is going to be our first clue, right? Carbon. So we have one, we have carbon.
I found one. It says reduce.
Reduce. All right.
Students had 20 minutes to escape, after which staff reset the room for the next group.
Now you all have to say it really loud on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Reduce your carbon.
All right, there you go. You've escaped the lab.
Students learned about the sources of carbon dioxide emissions, natural reservoirs of carbon around our world, and the role that they play in protecting our planet and reducing their carbon footprints.
The Latino Festival is taking place July 30th at the Lynn Common. However, a Latino Festival press conference was held last Tuesday to give a preview of the event. Food and dancing highlighted the various speeches given. Take a look.
afternoon. Okay. Hola a todos, mi nombre es Dulce González, yo soy el Community Liaison para North Shore Community College. Es un placer tenerles el día de hoy. Hi everyone, my name is Dulce. I am the Community Liaison for North Shore Community College. It's such a pleasure to be able to host this Latino Festival press conference this morning.
Construir comunidad no es fácil.
To build community is not an easy thing.
Encontrar confianza con la comunidad no es fácil.
To find trust within the community is not an easy
Pero
thing.
necesitamos tener las puertas abiertas
But we need to have doors open
y decirle a la comunidad que están para protegernos.
and tell people that we are here to protect them and help
Así
them.
que
So thank
acá-
you to the Lynn Police Department for your work.
Thank you so much to all of our sponsors for making this possible. We really appreciate all of the investment, the time for being here, for taking time out of your days. To the Sheriff's Department, to Ebenezer, to the Leaf family, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you all. North Shore, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you all for coming and thank you all for supporting our festival, and we cannot wait to have you there July 30th at the Latino Festival.
The MBTA will be closing the T station in Central Square beginning July 25th for renovations. LCTV went down to the station last Wednesday to get reactions from some of the commuters who would be affected by this closure. There will also be a press conference to share what the MBTA is telling the city. That will be on next week's news, as it had not happened at the time of this broadcast. Now, listen to some of what the passengers had to say. Hey everyone, it's Dani Vittori from LCTV News, and we're down here at Central Square at the T station for another edition of Man on the Street to see what people think about the closing of this station on July 25th for renovation. How do you feel about the fact that they'll be shutting down this station for renovations?
It's very unfortunate, especially on the weekends. I did notice that they're going to be closing even on the weekdays, and the travel already is a problem. Even with them replacing it with shuttle buses, they normally don't really come to the stop very often, as often as a commuter rail will come. So it's an inconvenience overall.
Ever since they opened this station in '92, should have been renovated every year. Making it very short notice is unacceptable. There's tons of people who ride this line every day just to get to work. My significant other parks at the garage right here, and now she has nowhere to park. So hopefully the MBTA will find parking for the residents who park here.
How often do you use this train? Is it every day for you?
Every day, Monday through Friday.
How often do you take the train? You commuter? How do you do it?
So I live in Lynn, but I work in Somerville, and unfortunately I do work on the weekends. So that's making my commute even. It's making it worse because now they're like doing the shuttle bus from here to, I think it's Wellington, but it's like the orange line, and it's like it's pushing you back further from where you're trying to go. Like North Station is like the main part to where you can get everywhere, the green line, orange line, wherever you need to go. It's added a 2-hour time onto my 1-hour travel. So it's taking me 3 hours, so I have to get up earlier. And unfortunately, it doesn't matter what time you come out for the shuttle bus because it's just never here.
This is a big part of Lynn, and without this, there's no way for people to go to work.
On Thursday was the weekly Central Square Farmers Market. There was also a special visit from the Raw Arts Van, where people can participate in free art making. The program, known as Van Gogh, travels around Lynn, providing those in the community with the opportunity to try different kinds of art. Take a look at the event.
We're here today from Raw Artworks, and we are running our Van Gogh programming, where we go around through the Lynn community in the summer and we make free art with youth of all ages. Yeah, it's really fun. Raw Artworks is located at 37 Central Square. We're actually just right around the corner. We love the Thursday farmers market that comes here, and we want to make sure that people in our community can participate in Van Gogh. So this morning we just rolled our cart on down and set up shop, and we're going to be making art for 2 hours here.
I joined Raw Arts after a teacher's assistant in my classroom. She had seen the way that I was as a type of person, and she thought I'd be good for the role. So basically, Raw Chief at Raw is an art therapist intern in the big word sense, but it's basically just like a helper of the leader in the art therapy rooms when we're having our groups. And me and Arison both started around the same time. He started a year prior to me, and we basically just go around and help the kids do what they have to do in their groups, whether that's them having a conversation with us about what they did at school, or us helping them with their artwork, or about the hard times that they may be going through at home.
What's special about Van Gogh is that it gives us the opportunity to work with more kids in the community of all ages who might not be able to have access to our program or know about our program. So it's a great introduction, and then the idea is that we're really opening the doors for people to participate and get creative, and especially with these little ones. We have all ages. We have 3-year-olds, we got 7-year-olds, we got 13-year-olds. So we try to make an art activity that is really accessible for all ages. We can all kind of work together and make something cool for them to leave and go home with.
Now for the sports update. Over the weekend, the Lynn Babe Ruth 15-year-old team flipped the script from last year to win the state title against Parkway. Last year, as the 14-year-old team, they lost in extra innings to Maplewood. Josh Dani pitched 2 scoreless innings before Jared Payon came in to pitch 3 more scoreless innings. Levi De Silva closed out the game for Lynn, allowing only 2 runs in his 2 innings pitched. In the bottom of the second, Lynn scored first and would never give up the lead. Jared Driscoll and Seth Sullivan had singles in the bottom of the 5th. De Silva walked, and 2 pass balls allowed Lynn to take a 4-0 lead. De Silva finished off the game on the mound for a final score of 5-2. The Navigators were able to snap a 5-game losing streak with a 6-3 win over the Valley Blue Sox on Friday night. The Navs then lost both games of a doubleheader on Sunday against the Martha's Vineyard Sharks. In their win on Friday, catcher Charlie Taylor led the charge, going 2 for 3 with a walk, run scored, and 3 RBIs. Shortstop Ty Dooley and center fielder Justin Casella each scored 2 runs apiece. Todd Tringle, a local from Saugus, MA, captured his 2nd win of the summer, striking out 4 in 5 innings pitched and allowing 3 runs on 4 hits. The Navs picked up their 9th win of the season with a commanding 8-2 win over the Keene Swamp Bats Wednesday night. Shortstop Jonathan Luters went 3 for 5 and scored 3 times. Nathan Blasick was another repeat hitter with 2 RBIs. This week is the All-Star break, and the Red Sox sent 3 players to the big game being hosted this year at Dodger Stadium in LA. J.D. Martinez, Rafael Devers, and Xander Bogaerts represented the Sox. Devers was a starter for the American League, with Bogaerts and Martinez in the reserve lineup. The game took place on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Devers earned a walk, with Bogaerts and Martinez also getting a chance to play. The American League beat the National League for a 9th year in a row by a score of 3-2. The AL now has an all-time record of 47, 43, and 2 against the NL. Recently inducted Baseball Hall of Famer David Ortiz made a special appearance to interview American League players in the dugout. His enthusiasm and fun personality made all the players smile and electrified the crowd. And that is the sports update. On this week's edition of the Lynn Lowdown, we sat down with Pastor Gina and Reverend Paul of the Lynn First Church of the Nazarene to discuss their summer events. Here is the Lowdown. Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Lynn Lowdown. I'm Dani Vittori, the news director here at LCTV, and today I have with me 2 guests, Pastor Gina and Reverend Paul. Thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having us.
Delight.
Yes. And so, could you tell me a little bit about the church that you are from and your mission?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I've actually been at this church for 15 years.
Oh.
This is my first year in the role of pastor. I'm an interim pastor, co-pastoring with Pastor Paul. The church is, I believe, one of the oldest churches in Lynn.
Oh, wow.
Not in this location.
Oh, okay.
But certainly one of the older churches. Yeah.
That's awesome.
The church is not only one of the oldest in Lynn, it is one of the oldest in our denomination. I think we are second only to a church in Los Angeles. And in our book of discipline, which we call the manual, our church is cited as one of the founding churches. And so it has a great historical past.
No, that's awesome. That's great to have that kind of history. And
you asked about our mission.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, your mission. Thank you.
Our mission, the mission of our denomination, is to make Christ-like disciples unto the nations. What we would like to do as our church is to let the community know that we're here to support them for whatever they may need. We're a friend in the neighborhood.
I like that. I like that. You feel like his community seems to be a big piece of your mission, the information you sent me,
right,
as well.
Right. I think people pass by and they see church, and most people think, oh, church, those religious folk. And, you know, the church has done a lot of damage in the community and in the world. We're trying to change that because we are part of the community. We have a lot to offer beyond the sermons on Sunday or the Bible study on whatever nights they happen. People can come to us. We run a food share table. There are a lot of things happening in churches that people aren't aware of, and we want to make them more aware of that.
Yes.
Well, the church started as a soup kitchen in Los Angeles. And that concept of service to the community has spread and been part of our foundational history.
Well, that's awesome. That's great that you have that base there. And you said you're an interim pastor. How long have you worked with the church? You said you did for a while and then you came back.
Strangely ironic, in 1975, I came to pastor this church, and I stayed until 1991, and I actually set a record for longevity in staying in this one situation. But I have often thought if I had to pick a church to mark my identity with, it would be this Lynn church. I found it to be one of the most in touch with regular, ordinary people.
Yeah.
I've often said this church made me real. From the theological training, which is kind of headwise, this church made me real in my heart to understand how to connect, you know, the head and the heart. And I have often thanked God for the privilege of being called in 1975 to serve this church. And then strange irony, after all these years of being in Pennsylvania for 20 years, retired in Maine for 10, and doing hospice chaplaincy during 8 of those years. In the ironies of life, I find myself back in Lynn and back in a church that I'm heavily invested in.
That is pretty amazing.
It is.
Kind of full circle sort of thing.
It is amazing.
That is, it's great. It sounds like both of you done so many good things within the community. And you said this church started as a soup kitchen, and now there were a few upcoming events you also had. You said to engage the community. I think it was pancake breakfast and a cookout.
We're going to actually have the neighborhood cookout. It's going to be a back-to-school cookout. We plan to give out backpacks with things in it. That's going to be August 20th at 1. We don't have the date for the pancake breakfast yet. So unfortunately, you're gonna have to go on our website, our social media, give us a call, and we'll let you know when that's gonna happen. And I was thinking as you were speaking, you said it's amazing. I'm like, boy, that's his penance. He actually got stuck with me this. Yeah.
Well, it's not penance. She's got the strength to do some of the ideas I always wished I could have done. And I still wish and I think about them, but at my age, I don't have the strength anymore. And I have a cohort here who has energy more than what I ever bargained for.
He has the wisdom to guide me.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Sounds like you two make a very good team, though.
Yeah,
which
is great.
That's great. That's always great to.
I love the team.
Me too. We also offer Christian counseling. I'm a licensed clinical social worker.
Oh, wow.
So yes, so if people are looking for Christian counseling, that's something that's available through our church.
Okay, that's.
And one of my degrees is in counseling, so theology and counseling. So.
You're multi-talented over here. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not smart enough to be here right now.
Oh, of course you are. That's why you're here.
And talking about some of your future ideas, I read that you wanted to do something that maybe becoming a site for almost like a daycare or an after-school program.
Yes.
That was something that was mentioned. I was curious about that. How'd that work?
Well, we have the space. I'm just not sure what it would take to make it amenable to that, but that is one of my long-term projected goals. I was looking at one, I'm not going to name it, place that I think would be great to be in our building, but our building's not ready for them yet. And I know that our space would be a lot cheaper than other spaces that people are renting.
Right.
So I'm going to be working, trying to figure out how we can renovate the building, what that would cost, where the money might come from for us to do that. Again, we're a friend in the community. So we support one another. We have to help one another. So it's not just one-sided.
No, of course. That's a great long-term goal. It's a great mission to have. And when you say you're a friend to the community, you like to go out and engage. Would you say that people tend to like that approach, or do you think that works well in this kind of a community?
It's a good question. And we're getting a chance to experiment with many different ideas after the COVID, which, in all honesty, it has affected us very hard, but we're not unlike a lot of other churches in the city. But we are actively scheming in our minds by the grace of God to try and find ways to connect with people in the community. And of course, I think it's already been said that we welcome everybody, and
Absolutely.
we hope that people who maybe have given up on church might give it a second chance. And I would say we're a church that still uses a hymnal on occasion. We still have words on the screen too, if you don't want to pick up the hymnal, which has grown in size across the ages, and it was once this thin, it's now this thick. And it weighs more than looking at the words on the screen.
Yeah, it does, definitely.
I just want to say something really quickly in regards to that. I was being respectful. In terms of relationships, I think it's not something we think about. I mean, you might think about it when you're in a meeting and we talk, okay, how we're going to engage the people, but it's really one person at a time, who you happen to come in contact, who you might come in a conversation with in a grocery store or wherever you go. Just talking to people, ask them their names. I mean, I've heard many stories from you about, I met this person, they told me this, they asked me that. We have people that come to our church now because they've come to you and they've asked you to do something. Yeah. So it's just making those relationships in your general everyday life. It's not always intentional. It's just natural.
Well, I'm residing in Kings Beach Towers with 183 or 4 other apartment dwellers, and I have let it be known that I'm available for pastoral visitations. And one night I was just watching television and someone came and knocked on the door and asked if I could put on my ministerial hat. And turned out that it was the daughter of one of the residents who was actively passing, and it's not unusual there. We're all on the on-deck circle for the next life. But so I went, and of course I prayed with the individual and read scripture, counseled them, and 2 days later the individual passed. And so then they came and asked me if I would do the funeral. Well, so I did the funeral. And from those connections, we now have 3 different ladies who are coming because we met them through doing a funeral. And it's just the simple things in life, being there when people need you.
Amen.
It's amazing. Like you said, you make so many just casual connections every day with people without even really thinking about it. So that's great that you can make those connections and foster that with people.
Right.
It is. That's an amazing thing to be able to do.
Right.
And when you speaking about your church, is there anything else you'd wish to tell people? Like, where are you located? Where's the church itself?
233 Eastern Avenue, close to the intersection of Essex and Eastern, and easily accessible. Small parking lot, but plenty of street parking. So if you come in and you can't find a parking place in the lot, just circle out again onto the street. You can drive right around the church and out the other drive and find a place on the street.
And we're also right down the street from the beach, so come to church, go to the beach. Win-win.
There you go.
You said.
Yes.
And we also have a fellowship meal every first Sunday, usually, unless there's a holiday and we'll push it to the second Sunday.
Yep.
Everyone's welcome. It's good food, great fellowship.
Come.
Come.
No, that sounds like a great thing to go to.
Yeah.
It is. It's a lot of fun.
I want to thank you again, too, for coming on the show and talking about all this.
Thank you for
It's our
having us,
privilege.
Dani.
Oh, of course.
Thank you for allowing us to share.
Yes.
Of course, anytime. And that is all for this week's Lynn Lowdown. I'm Dani Vittori, and we'll be back next week with another Lowdown. Now for the community calendar. The Summer Arts Festival is tomorrow, Saturday, July 23rd, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Head to one of several spots where various organizations will have tables set up. These locations include Goldfish Pond, galleries at Lynn Arts, and Bentwater Brewing Company. Touch a Truck is happening at Lynn Marketplace on State Street from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Head down with your kids on Sunday, July 24th to enjoy a fun day of trucks and entertainment. Also at 10 a.m. on the 24th is a Summer of You workout series. This is the second in a series of workouts taking place during July and August. Go to Red Rock Park to participate in this event and get a workout in to begin the day. Saturday the 30th is the Latino Festival, running from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. on the Lynn Commons. Come for a day of performances, entertainment, and a fun afternoon. Also, stop by one of the many tables set up by various sponsors of the event. For a full list of events happening in the community, and for more information on the events mentioned, head over to our website, lyntv.org. That brings us to the end of this week's news. Be sure to follow us on social media at Lynn Community Television to stay up to date on all the latest stories and breaking news. Also, subscribe to our YouTube page, Lynn Community Television, and visit our website, lyntv.org, to watch this and all LCTV videos anytime on any of your devices. I'm Dani Vittori, and we will see you next week with more news from Lynn.